Hello YouTube, welcome to the year 2012. I know I haven't been uploading anything to my channel in a little while, but I've been kind of busy. I got ill over Christmas and a lot of the shit happened. But I've been, since then it's been hard to get back on the horse, but what I've been doing in the end is actually just taking care of a lot of old projects. You know, things have been hanging over my head for a few years, clearing them out of the way. One of the things has been clearing out the attic space of all the old computer gear I've had knocking around, because, you know, you collect a lot of that over the years. And, well, I managed to make a fair old pile of junk. That's the stuff I haven't thrown out. I'm going to be, you know, pulling a few parts off it, a few fan pieces. There's a little robot there I picked up from the hack space. Yeah, just a few odds and ends in there I should be able to make use of. Made up a small pile of eBay stuff to list up probably around end of February, maybe end of March, depending on, you know, how things feel. Because, you know, I want to write it all up, let's get it. I'm going to wait for one of those free listing days, because they pop up every few months. And I want to give it a couple of months for people to recover from Christmas, so people can actually bid on it. Because, you know, after Christmas, who's got the money to? There's a few interesting bits there I might make up. I've got down here some stuff from my I got from family. I'm not going to say from where in case they get trouble for it, but it's bits from an office that got cleared out, and dinner aside, and a bunch of these things which are electric time date stamps, which you know, they're useful for in offices. They're made by Dymo, the same people that make those little label makers. But it's quite cute. When you press it down, there's a button that suppresses senses. Yeah, the switches are a bit odd, so they do something like print twice, which is a bit of a pain in the arse because they also have a counter on them. If they've got a counter and they print twice, your counter's off by one. So, yeah, probably best want to press that lock button every time. Or be quick to remove it once you do. But you can see there. 11th of the 1st, 2012, reference 1011, that's clocked up to 1010, 1011, it's clocked up now. So, little angled back so you can leave it sit sideways on. The computer, which during testing of parts I did manage to find old Hauppauge WinTV card, which I've tried using before and not had very good results, but I was trying to find some video editing software that's, you know, I've tried a lot of freeware video editing software and frankly it's been pretty dire. Biggest problem is I've got video in lots of different formats, and most of the software absolutely shat itself the moment you try to use you know, audio tracks that were in fractionally different formats. Even in the case of one set of video was in 30 frames per second, and one other bit of video was in 30.00003 frames per second, and the video editor just crapped itself trying to merge the two. And you can get around it by going through and manually altering all the video footage to the same format before you start editing, but even then the software has left a lot to be desired. I've actually been trying something called VideoPad Video Editor, which is a piece of software you can buy, of course, unless you want to use the Windows 2000 version, which is free, it appears. And it does work on XP, but I've got the XP edition installed because it seems to have more features. And it has an interesting little way. It's got an interesting little so they do a lot of different software. So they've got it also, each piece of software links to every other piece of software, so you can make little, so you can download on the fly. And what I downloaded here was a little one called Golden Videos, which sounded curious on the list, and it turns out it's actually a video capture system specifically for capturing from videotapes. Now I'm doing this on a digital camera right now, what is it, the Fuji Finepix. But, as you saw in the beginning there, that's the camera I used to do video with. And that's JVC S707. It runs on SVHS tapes. Yeah, it's 45 minutes per tape, and it's actually a pretty nice camera. I mean, it's pretty old. I mean, what, early 1990s, I think, or was it late 80s? But it used to be a semi-professional camera, so technically, up until this few years ago, it used to be a minimal sort of broadcast quality. You know, of course, standards have changed since then. And I've had it hooked up here because originally I didn't want to wear the camera out using it as a playback unit, so I bought this old camera back, which is a big professional SVHS machine, which I've been using to do playback of the SVHS tapes. Unfortunately, this only does slow play, because it's designed for professional use. It's not designed to have the low quality slow rate function. It doubles the length of the tapes you can use. This does though, so I've been using it to playback some, because unfortunately some of the project footage I took on this, I knocked the little switch next to the audio switch onto long play, so a lot of the videos have unfortunately been recorded at much worse quality than I wanted. But I finally managed to get them onto the computer, because it's been about 6 years faffing around with bits of free software and hardware conflicts, and frankly a lot of the software here does not like the onboard Realtek audio system that the motherboard here has. And frankly, a lot of software doesn't like Realtek in general. So I was really happy to literally stumble across the golden video thing, not even looking for it, and it works with the Realtek onboard sound straight off. So I've spent the last few days capturing up video, trying to ride the tracking controls on it to try and get the best footage, and the audio has come through magnificently. I'm really proud of the audio. But frankly, a lot of the video stuff I did on this was in the States. I took it over there on the plane, and that was a lot of hand luggage. It did not enjoy the trip. It started conking out. The video goes black in places, fading in and out. Something got knocked. I think it's the humidity, vibration, God knows what. But it plays back pretty much fine. The picture rolls, crackles out, in and out, and I'm afraid I think that's on the video itself. It's lessened on that, but that says only been playing back the full quality SVHS, whereas that one's been playing back the half quality long play versions. So yeah, that's lost a lot of quality, but I've got some interesting workarounds, so I think I can still make something pretty appealing out of that project. But that's what I'm going to be doing, is hopefully I'll be running a few tests on this, because the VideoPad editor has a few days, I think it's 14 days, 15 days trial period. And currently, up until, for the next 4 days, it's on sale on their website. I mean, it's on a 30% discount. So I'm hoping I can proof test this. Hopefully we'll find out, yes, this is what I'm after. I've done a couple of very rough crude tests on it, just throwing together videos of different frame rates and different resolutions into one, clicking save as movie, and it has merged and converted them just fine to within degrees, and the video itself is a bit choppy when it's done the frame conversion, so I might want to use some exterior software for doing that, some dedicated software, but aside from that it's worked out alright. And I don't need marvellous, I just need reliable. But anyway, the video's down here. I'm going to be getting more stuff there. I've got some artist interviews made at a convention I'm not allowed to mention in the USA, some random footage, some other projects. I've got approximately 16 hours worth of videotape sitting here. These have all been sitting around for various periods of time, one or two of them for about 11-12 years even. They've just been sitting around because I didn't have that one back there. That would have been, end of the 90s, that would have been an exorbitant price, and I think I bought it for £30 as broken, or rather unknown function, on eBay a while back. But before that, I had that old beastie. You can see there, FTP TV. Yeah, which was Fried to Perfection Television. It was the name of the show that I absolutely never made, which was the the conceptual precursor to the Scavengers Workshop. I'm actually thinking, I don't know if even know this camera works anymore, it probably does, but what I'm thinking of doing is actually taking the colour viewfinder off it, because it's one of the few cameras I've come across that had a colour viewfinder, and possibly retrofitting it onto this camera, because it does have a nice plug fitting for the head unit there. I do have a second camera, which is in the silver case behind the, behind that there. So a second camera, same model, in there that I bought as soon as to see if I could get something working with that, but that was just completely out of it. There's no video from that at all. Well, nothing that's usable. There's something wrong in the actual sensor unit on that one. But yeah, they've got their video switch, their security system video switch, but it's got a singular output on it. So what I was considering doing, it's got two outputs, one for four-way and one for single. So I was actually thinking if I could have that hooked up to a TV, I could have one monitor monitoring all video channels, and one to switch between for focusing on. I could run that to a capture card and do a multi-camera webcast. which would be interesting. I mean, I had all these crazy ideas, maybe I could, take one of these cameras, because 9.6 volts, I was actually retrofitting a battery pack as well to try and replace all the ones you can't get, because it's a fairly simple slips-in battery pack. That's what, 1200, 1400, maybe 2000 milliamp hours. And yeah, my thought was I could put one of those little cheap video senders on it and send that back and do I could wander around doing live footage to a base station which could do transmitting onto the internet, and it was like, ooh, that'd be a good idea, but that's been sitting on the back burner for so long, I don't even know what the program could possibly be about. I mean, if I'm doing it from here, it would have to be something in the local area, and there's not a lot to do in the local area, so it might be a bit dead in the water, that one. But anyway, that's what I've been trying to do, clearing out old projects. Got some costumes under the bed there I was working on. The eBay stuff is coming along. There's some dual colour printing calculators in there. Some big format books, various odds and sods. Some old laptops. There's an old tough book there, which I need to get running just to check if there's anything on the hard drives. Hard drives, I did actually find a lot of old ones from old machines, sort of 10 and 20 gigas, possibly a couple even less than that. I ran them through the Linux machine in the workshop a few days ago, scavenged all the data off them onto a bigger hard drive, which will also be repurposed soon, and that's gone in the main machine for me to go through so I don't lose anything, and I can get rid of the useless old drives, because, what's a 9.2 gig drive doing anymore? I mean, there's a SCSI drive under there which I don't have the adapter for anymore. I've still got to get stuff off that, but aside from that, I know it wouldn't usually, because I remember that drive particularly has some software installed on it for doing data recovery, which I don't have the license for anymore, so there's a piece of live, potentially useless software on that drive, and I know it. The rest of the stuff here, yeah, it's just pottering along, and I'm going to try and chop this up tonight, try and do a couple of quick cuts. Did find the old PlayStation's working. Got the, oh yeah, I did manage, on that laptop there, I was setting the scanned images from Saunier's treatise on horology, which is now out of copyright. There's a few partial copies wandering around the internet, but nothing complete. So what I'm planning to do with that is convert them to PDF-A, the archival one, if I can. I can't find any free software for doing that, which is a pain in the arse when you're talking about archiving stuff. It's not like they've got a lot of money to throw around at doing that sort of thing. But yeah, I'm going to do the PDA archival copy of it, which is just the texted version of the scan pages. And then I may, in my spare time, depending on how things go over the next few months, take it and re-edit it, clean up the graphics, go through, give it a very nice reprint, and maybe throw it up on Etsy as a reprint, because no one else is reprinting it. And it is supposedly the, what's they call it? It's the definitive work on 19th century clockmaking. The stuff on escapements and gear trains, and the fantastic thing about them is that back in those days, having a formal education was something of something out of the ordinary. So the first thing the book does is cover like basic physics. I mean, you could go almost from ground up. If you could read, you could probably work your way into building clocks of the era from that sort of information, which is an amazing thing. They got next to the old PlayStation. That does still work. Happy about that. I've got one spare there, which is in the pile somewhere. Stupid little robots. I am thinking about doing robot reviews, because occasionally I come across little robots, and disappointing little robots. Yeah. So I'm thinking about doing some robot reviews, see how that goes, maybe something new for the channel, in addition to doing all the repurposing. These were going to be part of a show originally called the Scavengers Workshop. Lots and lots of stuff never got done, but did film a lot of content for various features. Even if it's getting a bit old now, it's still going to be something people might want to watch. There's stuff on here from the Walthamstow bike recycling scheme, which is still around. Did an interview there, did a bit of a tour around. I've got some personal stuff on there as well, stuff from family, which might be good to get out and show. Got stuff from the allotment back when I had that. Did a tour around Earthship Brighton years and years ago now. That's on a few of those tapes. Hoping that'll be quite nice quality footage. I went to convention in the States, interviewed some furry artists about the fandom, because back then there was a big concern about how people were, how people perceive the thing, and there still is, but a lot of people still don't get why people are so enthusiastic about it, and a lot of that came across in the interviews. And I've got a DV tape there, which I have no idea what's on. I borrowed someone's DV camera for a trip to, it was Further Confusion back in 2005. I mean, that's a convention you are allowed to talk about. I think that must be the tape from that. I'm not sure what's in the box. I borrowed a DV camera for that, which was so much nicer to carry, even if the battery did run down fast. Unfortunately, some poor sod wrote me in to help him doing some interviews at that convention with someone infamous, and so I helped him out with being the second camera. And at the end of that, I remembered that, oh wait, this camera's PAL, yours is NTSC. The tapes aren't compatible. So, well, the tapes themselves are compatible, but when I tried playing my footage back on his camera, nothing happened. Well, lots and lots of scrolling imagery. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff there, and hoping to purpose it up. And depending on the poor old sod here, I might be selling the cameras because, just go for a digital one. It'd be a lot easier to use than this, even if it does look gorgeous. I mean, this thing, throw it up on your shoulder, wander around, people will assume you work for the BBC or something, and because the BBC also have 30-year-old equipment. And you really can't say better than that. It looks gorgeous. It makes you feel like you're out doing professional work, just holding something that heavy. But well, it's not aluminium. I mean, God, this thing's a brick. But no, I probably should just go for something all digital because it is so much easier to get off the machine. I mean, just to get this onto the machine, you've got to play it back at live speed to do the captures. So every 45-minute tape is going to take you 45 minutes to capture, and that presumes you've only got to do it once, and you don't have to ride the tracking controls the whole time. It's weird actually. There might be people watching this who have no idea what tracking is. But yeah, stuff to cut up. Oh yeah, I have been doing some experiments. That's the bag of receipts I've got to go through because we've got tax time coming up. That's got to be done in the next 20 days. Here's some experimental paw pads I tried making up using an even softer rubber than usual. I'm counting them as a failure. I mean, they're interesting, but they're a failure because the rubber used was 20 Shore rather than the usual 40 Shore. Had to use twice as much pigment in them to get them to actually come out black. And while I don't think that's the cause of it, they have ended up, well, sticky. And they're not losing any pigment out of them, but they are tacky to the touch. And this is after a week or so of being cured. It's like those little rubber men you get and throw out windows. Case in point. You want to be Spider-Man, you want to climb a wall, you probably could, but it's really... Yeah, you really couldn't wear these. And the fabric this stuff is so soft. I mean, it has bonded very nicely, but the fabric's so soft it's going to shear off or rip. I mean, look at that. It's like gummy bears. Oh yeah, it has started tearing up. I've started really going at it. Yeah, that's just too soft. Just too soft at all. But yeah, it's not been the greatest month or so, but I'm hoping I'll be able to come back with a vengeance. Once I get a few more things out the way. It's clearing decks rather than clearing decks and working at the same time. So I can actually get some shit out the way. And hopefully getting the shit out the way will make things a lot less stressful around here. You take care. Bye bye.